everybody, welcome to McFarland Minutes, our weekly podcast hosted by Natalie McFarland, me, and founder and president of McFarland Productions, and Scout Foster, our outreach marketing manager. In these episodes, you can expect deleted scenes, in-depth campaign reviews, project highlights, marketing concepts, book reviews, and a deep dive into the creative process at Off Your Rocker Films, and of course, invaluable lessons on mentorship, leadership, and the business of it all. We are so excited to be releasing our episodes every Sunday as your soft launch to Monday. Welcome to another Sunday, episode 8, McFarland Minutes, your soft launch to Monday. We are looking forward to talking some about our marketing theory and what we see as the way when it comes to marketing, and really what we think that every company should be looking at from like a North by Northwest perspective, right? So like what is the overarching direction? So in this episode, we'll talk about a little bit about that, talk a little bit about how we break it down into pillars and talk to specific people. But let's start with the first thing. Scout, can you give us a mini recap, and I'm happy to add in, on our general overarching marketing theory?
Get rid of the "here, buy this." Period.
Yes,
I feel
absolutely.
like this is your TED Talk on marketing theory. You're so passionate about it, and I love it. So I kinda wanna throw it to you, and I'll just pitch in where I feel like I have something new to add, but I feel like you deliver this message so well and so passionately that I think our listeners would be robbed if I talked about this first. So I'm gonna throw it to you to talk about our marketing theory at McFarland Productions.
Yeah, so I think the main thing is that it's really about who you're doing this for in the end, right? In the
Mhm.
last episode, I guess episode before last, we talked some about some books we love. Know What You're For is one of those. But knowing what you're doing and like who it's for is way more important than the specific features of your product, right? Like there's going to be 100 companies that make a shirt. There's going to be more than that, really. There's thousands of them,
Mhm.
right? There's tons of competition in each one of these spaces. So when we start talking about products, it turns into this like here buy this culture. And internally, it's a little bit of a dirty word, right? Like we want to avoid this here by this culture and really talk about like who is really on the other side and how can we connect with them. What we're really trying to do is building a community of real relationships between a brand and their fans, their clients, their customers, whatever you refer to them in your internal brand. We want to build something that's real, that allows people to identify with that brand. That's, what the best of them do. If I think one of my favorite examples is like when you can get somebody to wear your logo on their shirt, right? And maybe
Mhm.
like that's the only way they've ever interacted with your brand is buying that shirt. But you have to have a culture at your company that has included people within it. It included your fans, your community within it in order for somebody to wear a logo on their chest. So creating this culture and this marketing effort where you are truly building community, that's really what we're looking for.
Absolutely. I have a little bit of a funny story on the wearing logos. Okay, so Lane, my husband, works for my uncle Joey. He owns his own pest control business. The amount of times that we are out not working that Lane is wearing a Critter Getters like ball cap and people are like, "Man, you got any more of those caps? Like, where'd you get that cap?" It is literally the logo. It says CG on it or just Critter Getters with like a little ant and the R is like squashing the ant. So like it's kind of a catchy logo, but it literally means nothing to half these people. Like we'll be in Florida and we live in Texas, so obviously Critter Getters is not servicing Florida, but people will be like, "Man, where'd you get that hat?" And Lane's like, I work here." And I just think it's so funny that, like, this is a reoccurring thing. Like, we'll be in the airport and people are like, "Cool hat." And I'm like, "This isn't like a design. This isn't like an artistic looking hat." Like, no shade to Critter Getters or the graphic designer, like, nothing there. But, like, it's just mind boggling to me that so many people want this hat. Like, great company. If you need your bugs killed in the East Texas area, you should call them. But like, I just think it's so funny that like it's
Do you think it's because it's
working.
like it's the critter getter, like the
I think it could be the
sound
name.
repeat?
I think it could be, but I just think it's even, I don't, it could be that because before they did the entire logo rebrand, it just had the words Critter Getter on it. And it was kind of starting to happen then. So it could be less of the logo and more of like the catchy name. But I mean, if you're naming a company, think of what it's going to do to the people who read it on a hat because I think it's so funny. Like, we'll be anywhere. And I'm like, you don't even know what that means. Like, other than they're getting your critters.
Which is kind of like incredible, right? That's not the typical. Usually you have to have built a community surrounding it, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
you're not going to wear, I don't know, like Nike before Nike was cool, right? Like
Mhm.
until you interacted with them, understood their culture, they became, some giant within the industry and like
Mhm.
have built this just do it mentality, right?
Right.
Until you felt a piece of that brand, like you were actually interacting with it. You probably weren't going to buy the Nike swoosh. Like that meant nothing. Even in his book Shoe Dog, Phil Knight talks about how he was kind of like on the fence about the swoosh. Like what the heck is a
Mhm.
swoosh when you first start, right? But now like everybody identifies with that as
Yeah.
as a thing that they are part of, right?
Right.
So I think when we're talking about marketing theory is like, how do we give people a chance to be part of the brand? Maybe part of that is a cool name like Critter Getter, right? Like that is a pretty great name. But I think the bigger part of it is really this like cultural ability to be part of it. So one of the
Mhm.
companies that we work with at McFarland Productions is Painted Hills Natural Beef. And I think we kind of
Mhm.
do kind of a cool thing with them because yes, they produce beef, right? We could talk about the nutritional value of beef. We could talk about how beef is better than maybe other foods or something like that. We could talk
Mhm.
about how their beef is better than other beef. We could talk about all of that stuff. But that's not really what it's about, right? What the brand is about, what Painted Hills Natural Beef is really doing is bringing people together around the dinner table, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
We're really bringing people together. So can you talk some, Scout, about some of the things that we've done to try to like follow that in our everyday theory? And I think we've done it a few different ways, but bringing people together is the theme. Can you talk about that some?
Yeah, I think the overarching theme for Painted Hills Natural Beef marketing theory is to really tap into the experience that goes along with food. So I think instead of talking about the quality of beef, maybe talk about the quality of conversations around the dinner table and we're having steak for dinner. You know what I mean? Or like in the picture there's steak, roast, hamburgers, I don't know. I think we like to tap into a little bit of like the barbecue culture and the way that I mean, like grab a beer, let's stand around the fire. You know what I mean? Like let's grill some hamburgers, but like let's have a good time with friends too.
I think
Um,
like kind of a key on the barbecue thing is like barbecue culture is very much this interactive, like everybody gather around,
mhm.
like usually it's a backyard scene, right? If I'm thinking barbecue, it's backyard scene. Dad and his buddies are standing around cooking over the grill. Moms are probably, working on sides or taking care of kids or
Right,
whatever. Kids are running around everywhere, but the point is that it's not dad standing at a barbecue by himself, right? And
right,
then like, specifically look the beef, right? Obviously, the beef is an incredible eating experience. But yeah, back to
right.
barbecue culture. Sorry.
Well, that almost goes without saying. Like, you're not going to host a family Sunday afternoon and serve bad food. You know, like you're just not going to do that. You're bonding over good food, but it's also equally as much about the bond, the family experience, like family and friends. I like the barbecue is ingrained into my head. Like dad standing around flipping hamburgers, we're cannonballing into the pool. Dad's getting mad that we're splashing the grill. Like, he's like, "Hey, why don't you run and grab me like another drink? I need some, like go tell your mom to come out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
I
this
can
is like
hear
a
the game of
entire
Marco
full
Polo
experience.
now. You know, I can hear it just in
Exactly.
my
Like,
head.
maybe some Kenny Chesney playing in the background. Like,
Right.
you
A good
you're
sizzle on the grill, a beer being popped open, all of
yes, a
that.
good sizzle on your skin, you know? Like, let's get sunburn.
Yeah.
But I think so for Painted Hills, we really dive into the experience, and we do that in a few different ways from how we talk to people on social media, how we talk to people in uh, their email marketing, how we actually get out and talk to people at demos. So Painted Hills is great about going in store. So it's kind of a little bit of a different marketing setup, like business setup with Painted Hills because they're wholesale and retail.
Mhm.
So that is like a great way. The demos, we call them meet, like MEAT, the rancher. Haha. Um, Internally, they're demos. For customers, it's meet the rancher. But they go set up in stores and sample beef and talk to people about who they are and who they're for, and
They've also
so.
done things like Oregon State University has,
Hmm.
of course, the Alumni Association always does like kind of a deal with each football game. It's a pretty big deal, and one of them is a veterans related one, and they do a beeves, brews, and barbecues. That's a
Yes.
mouthful. But Painted Hills Natural Beef has gotten the chance to participate. I think the last 2 years, maybe it's been 3 years. I think it's been two, but they provide the beef portion for the barbecue competition. But
Hmm.
not only do they go provide that, they go to that event. And the important thing about that is they are able to humanize the brand by being who they are, right? Like Will Homer walks into a room and Gabrielle too, but Will in particular, he walks into a room and he laughs one time and you're like, Will's here.
Who's
You
that
know?
man? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We've literally
Yeah.
done reels on Will's laugh. Like that. That's how very identifiable it is. I've literally just found him across a football field before. So he is just one of those people that like walk into a room and have a presence, you know, and I think if you can humanize a brand, if you can do the in-person demos, you can create experiences. That's really what we're looking for, right? As a way to connect with your audience. And really, demos have been a part of their culture at Painted Hills Natural Beef. Meet the Ranchers have been a part of it
Mhm.
since long before our existence. They've been doing
Mhm.
that since their inception in the 90s, right? So I
Mhm.
think that that is the number one thing really that has made Painted Hills so successful in the Pacific Northwest in particular, but they are nationally distributed as well, is their ability to connect with people and create experiences, both, you know, cooking at home, in restaurants, in their demos, around the backyard barbecue, whatever. It's really about the
Mhm.
experience and the connections you've made over
Yeah,
beef.
right, absolutely. I think, the humanizing and connecting with people and building friendships really speaks to the demo, like, that is the entire reason you do a demo. I know one time Gabrielle sold a steak to a vegetarian at a demo, and I'm like, "Please riddle me that one, 'cause the math ain't mathin' for me right there." But I think that they just had a great connection, Gabrielle and this nice lady, and she ended up buying a steak. And Gabrielle explained that they're primarily like plant based. They still do eat meat. So I don't know if you can really consider her
Might
like a
be like
full
pescatarian or something like that, maybe,
vegetarian,
but
but yeah, they're like pretty plant based. So I still even feel like that was a win. And it
yeah.
was just because Gabrielle was there at the right time, talking to the right, like just talking to the right lady.
I also
Just
feel like you go into a grocery store normally, right? And you're standing there and like there's just a wall of shelves filled with, you know, pork and beef and turkey and whatever else, chicken, in the big meat case, right? And like you recognize some of the brands and things like that, but none of them have a human behind them, and, like, what is the
Mhm.
difference between them? I don't really get it. I don't really
Right.
feel like I'm identifying with any of these brands in particular. So going into a store where you can allow people to actually connect to real owners or real ranchers that contribute to the program that have raised some of the beef in that case, right? That
Mhm.
gives people the opportunity to feel a part of the brand and really feel one heard as a customer, which is huge part of building a relationship, right? If you can't hear your customer, if
Yeah.
you're tone deaf, you're gonna lose.
Right.
But I think that demos do a great job of that as
It
well.
also
So sorry, go ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say, the demos also allow you to be in front of your customers, like, in the moment, who is buying our beef,
Mhm.
or our as in Painted Hills Natural Beef, but, like, our, you know, I'm
We get
gonna
to be
take it
their
as my
extended
own.
team, so
Yeah.
it's ours.
Yeah. But, like, who it's a great surveying chance, like, to really meet your customer, like, know who you're talking to on social, know who you're talking to through email, and, I think those in-person events really allow for us to bridge the gap a little bit between online and in-person things, but it also helps us, with our online marketing. I know you have a great example of, like, how to know your ideal customer or your user for other, companies. Do you wanna chat a little bit about how we speak to our ideal customer and how we want, like, the things that we use to speak to them?
Yeah,
That was a
I
really good
think
question.
ideal client, ideal customer, brand or buyer
Mhm,
persona, it's got a billion names, right? Like who, whatever buzzword you want to use to describe the person that you're really talking to out the other end, who it's really for.
mhm,
That is a huge part, and the number one thing that I feel like that we do when we go into a strategy session with a new client, or if we're just doing a strategy session to kind of help set up a client when they're trying to work on something is number one, who are we even talking to on the other side, right? Most brands, this is going to be like one person for the primary persona, right? As you get larger, as you get
I have a bug
larger,
in here.
I saw that. As you get larger brands, sometimes you might have four, five would be a wild number of people that you're really talking to, but really what you want to do is really know them so well that they're your best friend. Like what it boils down to is who's your best friend.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
what do you do with your best friend? You know a lot about your best friend, right? You probably know where they shop, you probably know the jeans they prefer, you probably know where they like to go on vacation. You better know what their cup of coffee is, right? So
Mhm.
my favorite example is, can you buy them a cup of coffee and get it right? You know, can you just don't even ask them, right? Can you get their coffee right on the first try? Or maybe it's not coffee at all, right? But
Do you
can you
think you can get
get
my coffee right?
I'm pretty sure I can get your coffee right, especially if it's at Dutch Bros.
What would you get me?
A
This
golden
is a
eagle.
test. I need one
Winner!
of those in my life right now.
Oh, man,
Um,
yeah, you're
I
a little
need
far
that.
away. I don't know if I
I
could ship
know.
you Dutch Bros, but
Anyways, sorry, I
uh
didn't mean to go off course. I just wanted to prove a point, really.
Yeah. I just think, like, really what we're saying here is know them so well that you
Mhm,
are part of their lives, right? So that's really what we're after when we do these brand personas, ideal clients, whatever you want to call them, is who's your best friend. The first step to any good marketing career or any good sales career for that matter, any good company is understanding who it is that you're talking to on the other side, who's your
mhm.
best friend, right? So how do we scout? How do we utilize that in general? And then like what's the point of figuring that out? Like how does that then drive forward rather than just putting it in the special filing bin and saying you did that? What do you do next?
Yeah, so I think once you get to know your ideal client, you can create buyer personas. Once you create your buyer personas, you can then target your storytelling, your campaigns, all of your marketing efforts into creating a strong, like a strong community online. One of the ways that we really like to build out some marketing, I'm going to call them marketing pillars because that's what they are, but I was hoping to lead into them in a more creative way, except nothing
Here
was
we are,
coming
marketing
in
pillars.
mind. Yeah.
We've arrived.
Um, That's it. Um, I wish this was a little more interactive, so sometimes I could, like, feed off the audience, like a live studio audience, like, "And does anyone know what I'm going for next?" Anyways, we, like to break up our buyers and our I mean, you break up your buyers and then you break up your content into pillars. Usually, I would say 3 to 5 pillars. Would you agree on
Yeah, for
that
sure.
number?
I think like 3 to 5. If you've got more than that, you're really starting to spread yourself too thin.
Right,
You're trying to be for everyone, and that's not gonna
right.
work. You don't know everyone that well. You need to
Yeah,
know
well,
these people well.
we wanna keep it to knowing their coffee order or, treating them like your
Think
best
about the
friend, and
number of best friends you can handle. That's how many.
it's about 1 for me. No, just kidding. So one of the clients that we work with a lot on, defining and building content for their pillars is Schaefer Outfitter. They're a Western apparel brand, who do a great job, um, prior to before we even came into the picture with them of truly knowing who they're for, and they talk to who they are for. They're great at that. Um, I think they already had a few of these pillars lined out when we started working with them, but we've kind of helped to structure them up
They
a
had
bit,
done
and we
some
added a few.
really, really good market research. They've been around a really long time too, so they have quite a bit of data to support this, but they had some
Mhm.
really great research on the kinds of people they were interacting with, and of course, the kinds of people they would like to know, right? A lot of this stuff you know by experience. You don't necessarily need the
Right.
surveys and things like that, but Schaefer had done a really great job of pulling together data, so that was really
Yeah,
helpful.
exactly. So, when we are building out their marketing efforts with them and their campaigns and content, we speak to 4 pillars, Western and Ag, which really correlates to the ranchers, the pro and ranch rodeo. We're talking to the rodeo fans and the Western event fans here. And then we'll move into hunting and shooting sports. So this can be like trap and skeet, duck hunting, upland bird, uh, guides and outfitters, as in like guides, not
Like
actual
hunting guides. Yeah.
outfitters. Yeah.
Yeah.
um, we have fishing guides, different types of fishing. We'll do like fly fishing and I don't know
Deep sea
the other kind
fishing
of.
and
Yes,
river
thank you.
yeah, conventional fishing, crabbing,
Right.
whatever.
And then we have travel and leisure. So this kind of speaks to the agritourism, state national parks, camping, uh, backcountry
Backcountry
flying.
flying.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Um, and then, like, skiing, snowboarding, the snow things.
Snow sports for
So
sure.
that's kinda what those are what we're talking about, I think, and I think I think marketing pillars are, like, what you're talking about, like, what you wanna create your content to be, and then your buyer personas and who your audience is more so, like, your I don't know, I'm trying to, like
I
what am
feel
I
like
trying to
your
go
buyer
here?
persona, really defines, the person, right? Or the
Yes.
very few number of people. The marketing pillars, what we're really doing is when we come up with a campaign idea, right? Like, you can any wild idea that you get in any of these strategic planning sessions or any of
And they
our
get
create
wild.
they do. We kind honestly, throw everything at the wall and you're gonna find something really good,
Mhm.
right? So when we get one that we feel like is really good, the first thing we do is go back to these marketing pillars and then subsequently the buyer personas and say, okay, where does it fit? And if the first answer is,
Yeah,
it
it
doesn't
doesn't.
fit, then we're not talking to our audience, right? So throw that one out. If it's, oh yeah, it fits, but are we really speaking to a human out one of these sides? Is there a person that is on the outside of this pillar that we're talking to? And how do we reach that person, right? How do we create a meaningful interaction with that person with this campaign, right? So maybe a product that serves more of the travel and leisure sort of perspective. Maybe it's a product that, like for Schaefer, going back to our Schaefer example, maybe it's like one of their range tech shirts, right? And the range tech
Mhm.
shirts are these really great, lightweight but tough. They don't rip because you looked at some barbed wire, right? These are quality shirts, but having that lightweight shirt, particularly like ranching in Texas, in the
Mhm.
summertime, right? Like, you still want that long sleeve shirt to protect you from the sun and some of the crazy things that try to bite you in Texas, because everything wants to bite you in Texas. But, I think that range tech shirt really serves that ranchy community in the sun. So when we're thinking, okay, how are we gonna set up a campaign that relates to the range tech shirt? Okay, who are we really speaking to the best? Ranchers? Probably rodeo athletes would be secondary. You could maybe be talking to the fishing world, but those
Yeah.
are gonna be probably the primary ones, and so when you're looking at your campaign, you can say, "Okay, who's gonna relate best to this idea,
Mhm.
and how do I present it in a way that's the most relatable, dir but, like, specific," right? Like, I don't wanna talk to all 4 of these pillars at once. I wanna, like, really hit in on a particular group of people, right? So, um some of our clients, like Schaefer, still stay on that example, has done some stuff with ski joring. That's really fun. It fits their brand really, really well. Outdoor sports, cowboy related, also ski related. There's so many reasons that one really hits the mark for them. But we've done a lot of that kind of thing, for various clients over the years. And really what we're doing is looking for how can we figure out who we're talking to. It goes back to who you're talking to and then how we're helping them and who this is really for. And I
Yeah.
think that that's a big deal. Do you have
I
like a
think
favorite that you've seen that you're like, man, I like that. I like how we did that one.
how we did it or
Uh,
another
it
company?
could be another company even too.
Um, I think something that I really enjoy is maybe having I don't have a specific company in mind or a specific example in mind, but something that I really love is knowing like the back end of how they created this content. And I love to look at the comments to see if they actually nailed it. Um, because you can completely tell if they are speaking to the right people from like their content could be great, like professionally shot, professionally edited. We covered all the bases of how we wanted the content to go, but did it resonate? And
Yeah,
sometimes
maybe
it
their
doesn't.
saddle pads on backwards or something silly,
Right,
right? So,
right.
or they don't have a saddle pad at all, Beyonce.
Something
But, like, I feel like that's a really big thing, right? And it really goes down to why we are specific within the agriculture, and Western industry at McFarland Productions. We want to stay within a lane that we can authentically serve because we get it. We understand
Mhm,
you. The people on the other side that are within this industry, interacting with this industry, fans of our industry are our people, right?
mhm,
That alone has created community. That they are
mhm,
already our communities, so why don't we focus on that? What happens when you try to reach across and you don't really understand a community is they can tell, right? I feel like
and
the
they will
Western
tear
industry,
you up.
yeah, the Western industry is really bad, but like another example is like a military related movie, right?
Yes.
What military guy of any branch sits through that and goes, "That's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong." Like,
Yep.
all of them do it, right? Same thing
Medical
happens in
shows.
Western medical shows, police shows, like
Mhm.
detective show, like, the people within that community that live it every day, right? Let's just bring somebody's
Okay, where's
slogan
this
into
going?
here. Hey, it's a good one, you know? Um, People who are really in it and part of it and are truly part of that community, if you don't understand them, they're never really going to be part of your community, and you're
Right.
never going to build a brand that really has a best friend, right? And that's what you're really looking for is like, how do I create something that makes us love each other, right?
Well,
Instead of me just being like, "Hey, you should buy this because I
mhm.
said so." How do we do that?
Yeah, it should absolutely feel personal. I think when you're scrolling through a brand or organization, any type of company on any type of marketing platform, whether that's in your email inbox or through ads or socials. Maybe you follow them, maybe you don't. I think it should absolutely feel like it was made for you, like
Yeah.
um,
I want
you
to
want
see
to
myself in that
in
brand.
that. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. So I think, yeah, absolutely. Period.
Yeah.
Mic drop. Yeah.
I think maybe in a future episode we should like go through and we've kind of got this plan, but go through and talk about some of our favorite like marketing campaigns that really have kind of
Yes.
hit the nail on the head
Yes.
with that,
Yeah.
right? Like you've really like you get it. You've
Mhm.
created a you've created something that really has developed into a community, but I
Mhm.
think, this is something that we do with every single one of our clients.
Mhm.
Storytelling, who it's really for. It's really about them. It's not really about your products kind of at all,
Well,
right? Like the
yeah.
products are certainly need to be good. They need to have good features. They need to have quality and all of those things. But when it comes to marketing, that's what we're after.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is kind of like a follow-up section. I think we could probably have a whole episode on how you talk about features versus benefit, but you just said features, so that kind of triggered me into thinking that way. But I think you can do that, like in your marketing pillars, when you're talking to your ideal client or customers or users or whatever you want to call them. Think about how you're solving their problem. And if they're your best friend, you know what their problem is and you know how to solve it. Maybe it's some unsolicited advice. I don't know. But like you should certainly know them well enough to be able to help them on their path to a solution. And I always use rubber boots as an example. So bought some one time and I bought them because Lane had them. Like I didn't buy them for any other purpose other than Lane had them and he liked them. So I did not look at their marketing or copywriting anything prior to buying them. Later I was like, dang, I didn't realize how well like the traction that these had. Like this is great. Won't slip and fall. Won't bust my butt running
When you're out
for the
working
gate.
cattle in knee deep mud.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Um they don't talk like that. They say some very technical term of the type of rubber that they use, which I think could mean something to someone, but that is not me, and I feel like that is not a lot of the people who are buying, but um I don't know, like just put it into perspective. Put it into their life. I think Kevin likes to use the example of like a Bluetooth, what do you call that? Like Bluetooth, I don't know, capability in cars, but he likes to say
Oh,
hands free. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah. So there's like a hands-free, you can have a hands-free feature, right? Like,
Right.
and pretty much every vehicle now, I don't know if there's any of them that are being built without
Yeah.
that feature anymore. But the point is not that like we shouldn't be saying, oh, by the way, it has Bluetooth, it's Bluetooth enabled, which allows you to be hands-free or that provides hands-free connectivity to your phone. Okay.
Mhm.
Duh, right? Like we get
Right.
that. Really what you're saying is we provide Bluetooth in here. The reason that's important is because we want you to have a safer ride on the road. We
Right.
want you to be paying attention to where you're going, and maybe it's protecting that newborn that's in the
Right.
back seat. It's all tucked in cozy into their little bitty car seat, right?
Yeah.
Maybe don't
Yeah.
get distracted when you've got something that precious in the back seat,
Right.
right? So how do you the Bluetooth technology is great, right? But that's not what gets people. It's what it's for.
Yeah. Stellar.
Yeah, for sure. I
We should
love
just
I
title,
love
yeah.
I love your muck boots one, right? Like it's such a great example. If you have an understanding of how people are utilizing your products, why they're
Mhm.
selecting them, and then like how they're using them in their life, like what is the story that the
Right.
boots happen to get to be a part of, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's working cattle and it's can get pretty darn slick in some of those pens, right? Or they need to stay on well enough for when you're working rodeo cows and you got to take off running across the pen because
Mhm.
they've decided that you look like a pretty good target,
Yeah,
right? They better stay on your feet, otherwise you're gonna be running through
right.
that pen and your muck boots
Out
are
of
left
them.
behind you, right?
Yeah,
But the story is not the muck boots fit your feet really well and stay on well. The story is you were able to run and get over that panel before that bull made it
right.
to you, right?
And not slip off the panel.
Right, right,
That's
and not
key.
slip off the panel.
I think another thing too that is so, some of it is, like, so freaking obvious too. Like, I think in, like, one of their little bullet points, they talk about, like, the 2 straps on either side of the boot. Okay, that would mean absolutely nothing to me unless I was in the moment of not being able to get it on, and I need to get it on right now quick to, I don't know, would do, like,
The cows got out or whatever.
they're on the road, the neighbor called. Like, you're trying to hurry, and in that moment, everything seems like it slows you down. I'm just gonna be mad that I can't get my shoes on quick enough. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
I'm gonna go barefoot.
mhm,
Like, the 2 straps don't really mean anything to me until they do, but maybe put it into perspective before I go barefoot. You know what I mean?
right.
Like, before the fail of the product, because I would like to wear shoes running down the gravel or not hit ant pile. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
that all of that just sounds not like a fun idea. But yeah, I think you just need to, and those features are important to list. But I think we just need to kind of rework how
they're
we're
sort
talking
of,
to
like,
people.
secondary to the story, right? Like, understand like, maybe the commercial in the muck boot situation, right? Like,
Mhm.
maybe it's pouring down sideways and or it's snowing really bad, right? And you've got a calf down and they're gonna freeze out there if you don't get them into the barn, right? And you're in a hurry trying to get out and you're throwing all your jackets on and all of that, and, like, there's nothing worse than, like, the tall boots that you're like, lace, 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 takes you
Right.
way longer, right? Like, n no one's gonna
Mhm.
tie them at that point, but you
Mhm.
know what is easier is throwing those milk boots on, so it saved you a minute, 2 minutes, but
Right.
you get out, you jump in your side by side, you get up the hill, you get to the calf, and you get him into the barn, and you save that calf's life, right, that maybe otherwise wouldn't have made it because it's such terrible weather, right?
Yeah.
So the commercial is that series where the boots got put on. Maybe the boots are part of some of the shots that of you caring for the calf and trying to warm them up. Maybe the boots are saving you walking through the sloshing mud as the, entrance of the
Mhm.
barn is pretty nasty from all the snow melting into the barn, right?
Mhm.
Like, that's the story.
Yeah.
That's the commercial, not or the social play or the
Mhm.
blog that you wrote or the
Right.
social caption or whatever. That's the thing because that is about what it's for. Saving
Mhm.
calves in the middle of the night in the freezing cold weather, right? Or maybe it's
Or
on Painted
fishing,
Hills Natural Beefs, yeah, or fishing
like
and, like,
anything.
spending a great weekend with your family out fishing. Maybe it's
Mhm.
teaching your like, we went fishing last weekend with our some of our best friends' son who's just turned 2 years old, actually yesterday when we're recording this, but, um, his dad loves to fish, Kevin loves to fish, and we're Aunt Nat and Uncle Kevin, right? And we got to take him fishing in a lake and it like not a great day to fish. He's got like a 3-second attention span at
Attention
this moment.
span.
But like he's got his little muck boots on, right? Because we just had a flood not that long ago and it's pretty slick out there, but those muck boots are going to keep him from falling on his little face, right?
Yeah.
So like the story is about like what are people actually doing out the other side with your product, right? So Montana Silversmiths does a great job of this with jewelry, right? I think that most of the time when you ask a person like what's your favorite piece of Montana Silversmiths jewelry, it's usually like my grandma passed her Montana Silversmiths cross on to
Mhm.
me as a Christmas gift, and she used to wear it all the time, and now it's mine, and I wear it, and it's like it reminds me of her, right? It's this story of gifting, it's a story of connection, it's this really beautiful interweaving piece of who it's for. So, anyway,
Yeah.
I think that's really, like, the majority of what we're trying to say here is that our marketing theory is tell the story, don't tell me hereby this, Number two, tell a story that's relatable to people out on the other side. Like, who are you really for? How do you create a community? And if people see themselves in you, then they're going to be part of that. And then does it fit within your marketing pillars, right? Stay on course. Pick a course, stay on course. Make sure you're talking to a group of people or a person, because you can't be for everyone. Otherwise, you just get watered down and no one can really find your identity. So, any last comments here on this one, Scout, or we can wrap this episode?
I think we can wrap. You're not everybody's cup of tea, shot of whiskey. I don't know. However you wanna say that. Yeah.
There's a song about that, I think, but
Yeah.
cool. Well, that's episode 8. I hope that this helped you. In the next episode, I think we will talk about some of our favorite marketing campaigns that we've been seeing out there lately. Most of them have that community building sort of piece to them. So that's episode 8. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week.